As parents, we often feel just chronically exhausted, overwhelmed, and just really burdened by the demands of parenting and raising children. And so there's a really common phrase that people have started using called adrenal fatigue, talking about what parents often experience. But many of us don't know what actually is adrenal fatigue or what causes it or what can be done about it. So adrenal fatigue is basically when your body is just constantly running on a state of stress. It just always thinks that your body is in fight or flight. There is always some life or death situation happening to you, and our body should reserve this fight or flight for when we are actually being chased by a bear. And instead, it becomes waking up to an alarm clock or a screaming baby, trying to pack lunches and get them in the car, trying to get your toddler into their car seat while they are arguing, fighting, trying to get your kid to put on their shoes when they want to do it themselves, and then getting into traffic to get to school, to sit in a car line, to then get a phone call from the principal, a phone call from your husband at work, and all of this burden just sets off our fight or flight response. And this is something that should not be as stressful as it is, but our day is just constantly on the go, things have to be done on time, and it really becomes just a huge burden on us emotionally and physically, but it often results in our body producing cortisol too often. So you have something called your HPA axis, which is like a feedback loop that tells your body when and how to release cortisol and then when to lower that amount. And so if our adrenals are just constantly producing and spitting out cortisol, our body is never getting a chance to then reduce the amount we have. And so what happens is your adrenals get very tired. That fatigue becomes constant for your adrenals because they're just working, and never getting a chance to rest and relax. And so if you're a patient at our office, or if you've heard me talk, you know that there is our fight or flight response or our parasympathetic response, and you cannot be in both at the same time. To be in your parasympathetic response, that means that your body is prioritizing your organs, tissues, glands, muscles to do things like resting and digesting and healing and growing. And so we often see babies come in failure to thrive, and then they immediately start growing, they are eating better, they're having better digestion because their body is now prioritizing the internal organs versus prioritizing running from that bear and just consistently sending blood to your muscles for fast motion, tension, etc. So people often think like, well, what causes adrenal fatigue? What is really causing this? Like, what have I done? And there's just a lot of things. Number one, as a mom, it's going to be that fast-paced lifestyle. That is like the number one thing that you're just going to consistently be feeling like you're not doing enough, not on time, not measuring up. Another thing can be blood sugar. As moms, we often don't eat well-balanced meals. We are eating our kids' crust, which is a huge blood sugar spike, just carbs. We're not prioritizing enough protein in our diet. We are not just getting enough of a well-balanced meal at all times. Not enough fat, not enough protein. And then we are feeling the burnout because our body needs all of those things to regulate blood pressure, blood sugar. And when we're not eating a well-balanced diet, our blood sugar spikes and then drops, and that's a huge signal for your adrenals to release cortisol. Chronic inflammation is another reason for cortisol. So if your body is in chronic pain or chronically inflamed, which we can see on the scans that we do at our office, you're going to have a lot more cortisol being released. If you're chronically sick, this is something that kind of goes hand in hand, but we know that moms who do not prioritize their health and do not prioritize their HRV, their parasympathetic lifestyle, are 70% more likely to end up with an autoimmune condition at some point in their life. So if we have a chronic autoimmune condition, that's going to lead us to also chronic cortisol in our body. And then those two eventually will lead us to our adrenals just not working at all, and there being no cortisol left to give, which is definitely worst case scenario. So other things kind of quickly, chronic prescription or steroid use is going to be an issue for our cortisol in our body. Lack of vitamin D and sunshine, which is easier in Florida to get, but we don't often think about getting enough all of the time. And then lack of sleep. So again, as a parent, really hard to get enough sleep if you're waking up to a crying baby. So when we have all of these things, our nervous system is not working as it should. And so for our HPA axis, everything in our body needs to be regulated by something. And so that feedback loop gets very much out of whack, and then our adrenals get very tired, and we are just consistently feeling very burnt out. You're waking up thinking you already need coffee. You're really hitting that 1 p.m. time slot and thinking like, wow, I can't move. I just need to take a nap. I'm so exhausted. I need another coffee to keep going. And then you're going to bed, but then you're kind of wired by the end of the day because it's your only time alone. So if any of this sounds really familiar to you, you're definitely not alone. They actually did a survey, and 80% of parents and adults as well have symptoms of headache, fatigue, and difficulty sleeping. So all of these things are going to be caused by your adrenals not working as best as they can. So if this sounds like you and you want to see what can be done for your body, we offer insight scans at our office that are going to measure your body's response to stress. It's going to measure your inflammation and measure the tension within your body as well. And so when we see all of those things at once, it paints a really good picture of how much care we need, how burdened your body is, and how much work we have to do to get your body out of that consistent fight or flight phase that it's in to really start doing the things like healing and resting and having proper digestion. So if you're interested, call our office. We can't wait to help you. This is something that as a parent, when we talk about pouring from an empty cup, this is filling your cup back up to try to make sure that you're the best parent for your children, you're present, and you're able to be a fun parent and not just checking the boxes of everyday life. So we can't wait to meet you.